More Top Gear this Tuesday night on BBC Prime. To come, a real insight into teenage life, the minds and bodies of the teen species next.
I learn how to drive a Lotus Elise properly. And it's religious racing as we find the fastest faith. So it's a riot of fun and games, but the theme of the show tonight is the environment. Yeah, I know, but you see, the thing is, what we're going to try and do is balance our love of the car with a need to be green. And that's why we, earlier this week, put a camera over the M4 bus lane to try and work out what it's for. I mean, obviously the government must have done research. They must have worked out there was a need for it. Obviously. I mean, you wouldn't put all the cars in those two lanes. That would be the work of a madman to do that, unless there were lots of buses. Well, there we are. We're going to play this throughout the show, and if any one of you sees a bus coming along, do shout out, OK? Feel free. OK, good.
Yeah. OK. Well, while we're waiting... What? Well, there is something. There is something coming, and it's a bit small. That's not a bus, that's an ambulance.
False alarm!
That is, yeah, it is. Panicked out, but be ready, OK? While we are waiting to spot a bus, this is the new Saab 9.3. It is a competitor for the Audi A4 and the BMW 3 Series. But because it's a Saab, because it's Swedish, it's that bit more cuddly, more friendly than those more aggressive German competitors. And that makes it the perfect car to look at in tonight's caring, sharing Top Gear. But don't worry, there's going to be no nonsense with spinning wheels or any of that, because I'm going to drive this in an eco-friendly manner. This 2-litre T model may have 175 horsepower and do 0 to 60 in 8.5 seconds. But don't worry, because I'm going to travel to work following the government's official guidelines on commuting in an eco-friendly manner. We should, and I quote, steady our speed. They suggest 50 miles an hour as being the most economical, and in fact it probably is. Righty-ho, then 50 miles an hour it is. And it's not bad at 50 miles an hour. It's quite a firm ride, but sportily so. It's not unpleasant. That's not very economical. He's going quickly. Now, all right, the Saab does share a lot of its bits and pieces with the Vauxhall Vectra, but they have put their own engines in and their own suspension setup. It's not the sharpest feeling piece of kit, but you do get a solid premium car feel, and that's what it's about, and that's what it's got to be if it's going to compete with Audi, BMW and Mercedes, which is what they want it to do. The 2-litre T has a 2-litre engine and a turbo, and it's a light pressure turbo, a very, very light pressure, so light it's hardly there. Over about 3,500 revs it goes, and that's it. I don't want light pressure turbos. I want great big stonking huge heavy-handed turbos that throw you through the seat. But then to do so would be very uneconomical and against our guidelines. Now obviously it's capable of far, far more. We could do speeds in excess of, ooh, well, it could certainly do 60, but that'd be crazy. But if you are going to let rip and explore speeds beyond 60, make sure you do it before you get to that great government invention, the bus lane. Here we go. Bus lane. But apparently as many as 2 buses an hour come along here, so it's worth cordoning off 50% of the available road space permanently. Great thinking. It's funny, at a time when BMW have introduced their iDrive, the system on the big 7 Series where you get one big knob to control everything. It's not the driver, it's a big knob, literally, on the centre console. In here we've got an old-fashioned approach where we've got a button, a switch, a knob or a dial for everything. I've counted 98 separate controls in this car. 98. And all those buttons give you control over an impressive array of toys. Air conditioning, car computer, cruise control and CD player, all fitted as standard. But our guidelines have something to say on that matter. They tell us that, unfortunately, all onboard electrical devices, particularly air conditioning, shouldn't be used unless absolutely necessary, because they waste precious fuel. So, unfortunately, handy though all of that stuff is, I'm going to make sure we don't use it and we stay friendly, because that's what the government tell us. That should do it. Shame, really. I'd have loved the aircon on. It's getting a bit muggy in here. In fact, it's pretty good value for money. At £21,500, it's over £2,000 cheaper than the nearest Mercedes or BMW. And you can sit and dream about how to spend all that money you've saved whilst you're stuck at the lights. And stationary. Now, I've followed the guidelines. I've switched my engine off, which is great. Lovely. There's a rumour here in London that the Mayor, Ken Livingstone, is actually rigging the traffic lights to cause maximum disruption. Of course, it is only a rumour, and his people deny it. They say that the traffic lights have been changed to avoid too much congestion in areas during times of roadworks. Well, that's everywhere, all the time, isn't it? Surely. They also deny that it's causing traffic chaos. What's this, then? They say that drivers will find alternative routes. Where? In the sky? 2 minutes red, 8 seconds green. Nice. And we can just sit here at the traffic lights as our life ebbs slowly away.
Well done. No whales were harmed in the making of that item. I want to make that absolutely plain. But you forgot to tell us what the car was like.
Yeah, I did miss that bit out. Well, I can tell you. What?
Bus.
Good Lord.
No, that's a coach. A bus is a big smelly thing full of old ladies going to the post office. That's taking businessmen from Heathrow into London. Doesn't count.
Doesn't count.
Right.
Yeah, the car, it's just a bit bland. Old Saabs used to be quirky with wraparound windscreens and big slabs of dash and all of that. But this, it's just a car.
There's nothing. Got a clever engine, though.
It's got a very clever engine. For instance, if you drive it through really heavily polluted cities, LA, Denver, places like that.
Birmingham.
Yeah, Birmingham as well. The stuff that comes out of the exhaust is actually less toxic than the air going in at the front.
Really?
Yeah, it's because the catalytic converter on a light pressure turbo like this is so clever and so efficient that all the muck coming out of older cars around you in the traffic, it'll take out some of the bits and pieces from that.
So basically, if you turn this car's engine off at the lights,
Yeah.
you're harming the environment.
Yeah, it's very neglectful of you to do that, in fact, which is weird, but strangely true.
These government guidelines don't work, do
Well,
they?
they don't work anyway. I mean, I was lucky not to be punched in the face by a van driver waiting to get away at those lights anyway. So...
Which you missed. You missed your window.
Well, yeah, you got 8 seconds green. 2 minutes of red, you're like a sniper waiting for 2 days to take a shot. Oh, sorry.
Missed it.
Yeah.
OK, well, look, let's forget about how to drive and let's concentrate on what to drive. We'll be doing that later in the programme, but for now, the news.
This week, news from Daihatsu of the new Copen, which is obviously stands for coupe that opens. And this is the car of the future. A couple of weeks ago, we talked about the Smart Roadster.
Yeah.
Yeah, this as well, a little 660cc turbocharged engine, folding roof, a bit like the SLK.
Yeah.
The only problem I can see with it is they look like they're going to be about 14 grand if they import it.
14.
14.
And the Smart was...
12. Well, starting at 12, so this is 2 grand too much. So it's not decided yet whether they're going to import it, but if
Well, I
they do,
wouldn't bother.
No,
It's
that's going
very
to kill
ugly
it.
and too expensive.
That's going to kill it. Now,
Sorted that one out.
last week there was a bit of an issue about Jeremy's Mercedes SL55 AMG.
Which you stole.
Yeah, we kind of did.
Which you stole. And do you know what's really funny? Is we've had, I don't know how many emails, hundreds, from people saying that the car that was driven around the track by the Stig wasn't mine.
Was.
The thing, no, really, the thing was, when I drove it in the road test, I changed my plates. I put SL55 AMG on, so no one knows what my number plate is. Did you bother changing the plates?
No, not really.
You did steal my car.
Yeah, pretty much. So if we could just clear that up. But there is more news here. If that's left you downhearted, this won't cheer you up at all, because now there's a better one. Brabus, German tuning house, you'll have heard of them probably.
Yeah.
They've brought out the K8. Basically, it's going to be about 75 brake horsepower, even more than before. It's tricked up with great wheels, and I mean, that is a big, mean car.
Is that gay?
Oh, no.
Who thinks that's gay? That's still gay.
Sorry, Jeremy.
what's that going to cost then? How much?
It doesn't make any difference
No,
how
no.
much it's going to
don't care.
cost. It's gay. I want to talk about safety. I think a lot of people think that all cars are about the same. They all have to pass the same kind of tests, but actually they're not. There's an organisation now called Euro NCAP, OK? And they test loads of cars and grade them. They're independent on our behalf. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stars. And so far, the only cars that have got 5 stars are the Renault Laguna and the Mercedes C-Class, OK? But they've just tested 18 more cars, and 4 of them have got 5 stars. And they are, this is important, you should know this, Mercedes E-Class, the Renault Velsatis, which we looked at last week, the Renault Megane, 5 stars for a Renault Megane, and the Saab 9.3, which you've been driving.
That's true. So not only is it good for the environment and cleans the air if you go through a mucky city.
It's not just the air, that thing. That'll suck rabid bats in. Clean them up, nice and fluffy, shoot them out the back end, no rabies on them.
Oh, lovely.
The thing is, with those cars, I mean, if you looked at those cars, you wouldn't obviously think, would you, a Velsatis?
Well, a Megane, you wouldn't look at a Renault Megane and think, is that safer than a Mercedes S-Class?
No.
They also test for pedestrian safety, you know, if you actually run into someone, and all of them do either badly or very badly, or in the case of the Suzuki Grand Vitara, appallingly, it got no stars. So basically, right, if you find yourself in the middle of a dual carriageway, there are 2 cars coming towards you, know you're going to be run over. If one of them's a Suzuki Grand Vitara, go for the other one. And just being serious, if I may, for a moment, because I never used to worry about safety at all until I had kids. And NCAP actually do test, if they put child seats in the back and test 18-month-old babies and 3-year-olds to see how they survive and how well they're looked after if you have an accident. And I think most of the cars they've tested are done very well, but the one they've picked out as being very good is the Subaru Legacy Outback.
Wow.
I mean, you look at that, it's not an obvious choice, is it?
No.
If you were thinking, I've got children now, I need to put them somewhere safe, you'd go Volvo or Mercedes or a big 4x4. But that is actually singled out with its child seats as being very, very good in both side impacts and frontal ones. So there we are.
Right. Has anybody seen about Transport Minister Alistair Darling? Bless him. Has been saying what we need is a hole czar.
A what?
Because of all the holes in the road, it's because of all the disorganisation. There were, I think it was in London on the Strand, about 160 holes in the road in 12 months. They don't organise it, and as a result, traffic congestion, chaos. Well, it's funny that comes in the same week that we've heard that the average car journey, the average journey by car, is now 16% slower. It's taking people 16% longer to make the same journeys in their cars.
Than it was 4 years ago.
Yeah, and I don't think that's a big surprise, is it?
No, it isn't. I mean, the school run I have to do, not in London, it's from outside Oxford into the centre of Oxford, the most car-friendly city in Britain. Well, OK, second most car-friendly. That's now 18 miles, an hour and a half. The
point being, and the interesting point being, how much do you think the traffic has increased by, the volume of traffic to achieve that? So journeys 16% longer, traffic
how many more
increased
cars
by,
do you think there are on the roads?
Give me a percentage.
Guess. 2% more?
Or two cars? You fool! I wouldn't do it.
You're wrong.
No.
Shall we say how many more?
I'm going to tell you. None. It's exactly the same. And yet journey times are that much slower. And that's because of all the stuff with this.
Yeah, that's why that guy would have been doing 70 in that lane. Now he's having to do 40 because of
that.
Ooh, there's something coming.
Hello.
It's a taxi and another taxi and another taxi.
Well, that's three people
coming in from Heathrow. This is the problem. And now, have you seen the latest scam they've got with bus stops? You know, there used to be a lay-by the bus pulled into, OK, so that the old ladies could get on.
Yeah.
Well, now they're building bus stops out into the road.
Why?
This is the latest idea, because bus drivers were saying that no one was letting them out. So now we have to wait while she did it. Oh, I've got me tartan shopping trolley. Anyway, before I... What? Do I travel a lot?
What do you think?
I went on a bus once. I was 8. It's hideous. Anyway, there's been a lot of talk just recently in America about what Jesus would have driven. We're not interested in that, actually, not even slightly. What we're interested in is finding the fastest religion around our track. So, you look at what we've got here. You, sir, are from the...
Catholic Church.
Catholic Church, and you're...
Father Simon Thompson.
Right, now what do you drive?
Seat Leon.
A turbocharged Seat
Coupe for a turbo, yeah.
Yeah, and you've had it chipped.
Well, I got the touch-up paint, yeah.
No, you've had it chipped from 180 to 206 brake horsepower. One fast priest, I would say. Now, you, sir, I'm guessing, Rabbi?
Correct.
Rabbi...
Pinny Dunner.
Pinny Dunner, great name. Pinny Dunner. And what do you drive?
I drive a Vectra, I'm sorry.
You did know what we were planning on doing here?
I did.
Any crashes?
A few.
Talk us through them.
I've turned over a Honda. I've crashed a 2CV. I've backed out of my drive into somebody's car. That's just 3 that I can think of offhand, but I've crashed a few more times.
And what we've learned is that you've never had a good car, actually, from that little lot. Now, standing alongside you is Ngaka Lama Regzin Taklong Rolpai George.
I had no idea you were so fluent in Tibetan. That's quite amazing.
What is your email address with that? Can I call you Rigzin?
Oh, please, yes.
Fine. Now, you're Buddhist.
Good, yes.
Good. And you drive a...
Renault Scenic?
Renault Scenic. You had any accidents?
I may be the only person to have written off a car in a motorway service area.
Really? How did you manage that?
Well, I got a bit disorientated. I only stopped for a pee, and I walked through the door with the picture of the man wearing a skirt. It's true. And leaving in a hurry, I was still kind of revolving this incident in my mind, and I met with one of those, rogue lampposts that you do occasionally.
In the thing. Well, how annoying is that? So now we move on to the Reverend Anthony Feltham White, representing the...
Church of England.
Church of England. Now, actually, you are a bit of a dark horse here, aren't you?
Not exactly. No, I wouldn't say so.
But you actually race cars.
Only some 3 or 4 times a year, yes.
It's still racing. What's it called?
Racing.
Your racing
Revelation Racing.
Glorifying God through competition in motorsport.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, good on you.
Thank you.
Now, I know that is already someone from the Church of England, but we couldn't resist it when, at the last minute, we were contacted by a...
Bishop.
A bishop. I mean, we had to say yes. When Bish rings, you go, well, we've got to have you on board. So you're Right Reverend Wallace Ben from...
I live in Eastbourne, but I'm the Bishop of Lewis, which is East Sussex.
Bishop of Lewis. OK, now, member of the Institute of Advanced Motorists.
Yeah.
This isn't going to help.
No.
Shuffling your arms around won't help here, OK? It has to be all that, OK? Now, the thing is, they've already been around the track, along with a guy from the Hare Krishna, but sadly, he can't be here today.
Shame.
And nor, as you probably noticed, have we got a Muslim, and that's because it's Ramadan. But when Ramadan's over, do please get in touch. We'd love to put you in the same sort of car, same track, see how you get on. Anyway, we'll be seeing how you guys get on a little bit later.
And I really can't wait for that. But let's get back to the environment for a bit and talk about diesel. Now, we don't blame anybody for buying a diesel engine car. OK, so the fuel might cost about the same as petrol, but you'll get much better economy. And the engines themselves have come on a very long way. For instance, the TDCi diesel engine in this Ford Focus. Great. It's a really good, usable, everyday car, and it's a diesel. Need something bigger? BMW 5 Series. The 3-litre diesel engine in there, I kid you not, at 90 mile an hour, you'd never know it was a diesel. Need something even bigger, completely clueless about contraception and want a people carrier? The new Citroen C8. It's great. It's got a really cool and funky interior. It's very clever. It's very big and spacious and comfy. Are you comfy in there, guys?
Yeah.
Oh, good. But the most interesting thing about this is Top Gear hasn't been renowned for its love of diesels over the years, and yet the version of this, the C8, that we'd advise you to go for is the diesel engine one. So 3 very different cars with very different purposes, but all diesels and all very good. So what's next for diesel?
This is the Peugeot RC, possibly the world's first proper diesel sports car. And since there's only one in existence, Peugeot were a little nervous about the Stig having a play. So they sent down their own man, Richard Burns. The RC has all the sports car credentials: carbon fibre body, mid-mounted engine, a 6-speed sequential gearbox, a 0 to 60 time of 6 seconds. And yet Peugeot still claim that it'll do 57 miles to the gallon. So would you take the leap and have a diesel sports car?
Would I buy a diesel car? No. And I can explain why. Volkswagen Golf, okay? Petrol engine, European chic, goes into my cool wall, which we introduced last week in the cool section. Volkswagen Golf, diesel. Identical car except for the engine. Where does it go? Uncool, because it marks you out as a cheapskate. Here we go, the Saab we looked at earlier. Now, Saabs, I know they've gone all conventional, I know it runs on a Vauxhall Vectra platform, and yet somehow telling people you've got a Saab, quite cool. So it goes there and... Oh, I'm sorry, I don't think I've explained. This isn't debate. I tell you where things go. I am the judge here. Unless, of course, it's got a diesel engine, which Saab are now doing, in which case it goes there. Happy now? I have to say, actually, this cool wall has caused an absolute furore. We have had 20,000 emails about it. 20,000, and all day long, all the people here have been going, "Oh, what did you put that there for?" And I've got a microphone here so we can hit people with it. What do you want moving?
The MX-5 and the MGTF.
You want to switch an MX-5 with a... Anyone else got any thoughts? What was yours earlier?
The Aston Martin I would put down into the uncool on the basis of build quality, and it's not value for money. It's too much Ford.
You are such an idiot. This is the coolest car. I perhaps haven't explained how the cool thing works. It's got nothing to do with build quality. Absolutely nothing to do with it. Or looks, or anything, or how they are to drive. All that matters is, are they cool? And the way you can judge it is this, okay? You've got to take Kristin Scott Thomas out for dinner. Cool girl, yes? We all never heard of her, have you? Anyway, she's the coolest actress there is. You turn up in something like that, Ferrari 360, she's going to think you're a Berg. You turn up in that, she's going to leave her husband. That's how cool works. Who was complaining about the Ford Ka? You were. Why were you complaining about the Ford Ka?
It's just good. There's nothing you can say about it apart from look at it. It's a good car.
You've turned up with 86 earrings and you're telling us that's a brilliant car. My case rests. Always looking angry. I like earrings. You know, I drive an SL, okay? I'm gay, as it turns out. Anyway, where was I? Completely forgotten. Oh, diesels. The point is that if you have a diesel, it marks you out as being mean, and that's why they're in uncool. The end.
Feel better for that, dear?
Yeah, a bit of a moment.
It's really hefty.
Don't upset the bloke in the earrings.
No, I don't inspire that.
Carry on, but just be careful.
All right. I'll just go that way. So we're saying diesels uncool, they're down this end of the board. All right, next thing could be electric cars. Now, billions and billions of pounds are spent in America by organisations, including the government, on developing electric cars. And this, the Ford Think, is the best they can come up with. And frankly, you're better off doing the Guardian thing and jogging to work. Let me show you why. Now, here's the Think with the Stig at the wheel. Listen to the throbbing silence of that electric motor. Glorious. For comparison, we've lined it up against something equally sprightly. Jason. And they're off. Now, the Think can do 0 to 30 in 7 seconds. But you can have problems, particularly if you use the electrical stuff. Things like the stereo. Now, Jason by now is way behind, but look what's happening. It's running out of steam. Oh, my word, it's stopped! And the giant Galapagos tortoise is past and across the line. Would you drive an electric car then, Jeremy?
No, I don't want to drive around in an appliance. It's as simple as that. And I'll tell you something else about electric cars, OK? You have to charge them up at night, OK? How many people park outside their houses? You have to park 3 streets. You do. Well done you. There's one man who parks outside his house. But for the rest of us, you park 3 streets away. And even if you can park outside your house, there's just going to be flecks. You'll be walking down the pavement like this over all the flexes. They're stupid.
Maybe not the best, but there might be a solution, and as is often the case, it's a compromise. And it's a hybrid car. It's the Toyota Prius. The clever thing is, and the reason it's a compromise, it's got 2 engines. There's a 1.3-litre petrol and an electric motor. And the way it works is it runs on the electric motor at slow speeds, and then when it needs more power or the motor runs out of charge, the engine, the petrol engine, fires up, and that puts the charge into the electric one. So, you don't have to plug it in. Brilliant.
And not just brilliant. I've got a list here of the people who are driving this car. Not a made-up list. This is for real. Cameron Diaz has one of these cars. Leonardo DiCaprio. Donny Osmond, we'll skip over that. Alicia Silverstone, Jane Fonda, Jeff Goldblum, Billy Joel, move over that one. Ted Danson, Dennis Weaver, David Duchovny, John Ketley. The list goes on and on forever. And yet, despite that, despite the incredible patronage, I don't know, where do we put it? Uncool? I'm thinking not uncool. I'm thinking not even seriously uncool. I'm thinking further down here. I'm thinking way out of the lit part of the basin in the deep, dark recesses of hell.
But you know what, Jeremy? Despite what the government say, despite what the environmentalists say, it's not diesels and electric-powered cars that are going to excite the drivers of the future. I went to a couple of schools to see which cars the kids of today want to drive. And when I got in the classroom, they weren't drawing a Prius. So to find out if kids still love supercars like they've always done, I lined up some break-time treats. A Ferrari 360, a Pagani Zonda, a Nissan Skyline R34 GTR, and finally, a TVR Tuscan. Look at this one first, the red one, OK? Ferrari, right. Who did I say drives one of these? Michael Schumacher, David Beckham, and they're made in what country?
Italy.
Italy, OK. Should I do some spelling? So should we look at the cars instead? OK. Can anybody guess how much money one of these would cost? $750, right? A little bit more than that. Good guess, though. This would cost about the same amount as a house. This costs £110,000, which is like loads and loads of pocket money. Right. Anybody know what kind of car this is? GTR, yeah, it's a Nissan Skyline. It's a GTR. Now, these aren't made in Italy. These are made in... Anybody know? Crocra. Crocra, not heard of that place. I heard someone say the name of this one. What's this one called? TVR. And do you know where these are made? Cyprus. They make them here. This car is made in a place called Blackpool. You want to hear it?
Yeah!
All right, then. Ready? Wow! This car will do 220 miles an hour. This is actually called, it's a funny name, it's called a Zonda. How many houses do you think you could buy? 3 houses. This car costs £300,000. 3, 2, 1. There's one car that I'd like to show you before you decide. Yeah, if you look behind you...
Here it is, the old